Welcome to the Milt Talk Legacy Builders podcast, a place where Milts can connect to one another to inspire, motivate, and collaborate to continue to build a strong and well-connected alumni association. I believe that Milton Hershey School rebranding is actually just getting started, and I want to be part of that journey. I think the best way to commemorate Milton and Catherine Hershey is to continue our own legacy that impacts the world as Milton Hershey so impacted us. I believe the level of extraordinary that each and every Milt carries within them is deeply underestimated, and this podcast will help in the journey to show off what Milts are really made of. I'm excited to get to know more Milts, more insight to their upbringing, and what they're doing now to build their legacy and bring value to others, and what being a Milt really means to them. Today, I'm talking to Laura Whitmire, class of 2001, founder of Treat Yourself Soap and Candle LLC. Laura is a joy and relaxation strategist who specializes in creating self-care products and services for women to achieve daily peace, which helps them be their very best. While pursuing her entrepreneurial endeavors, Laura has always been a teacher at heart for all ages. So welcome to the Milt Talk Legacy Builders podcast, Laura, and I'm so happy to have you as my guest.
Hello, and thank you for having me. I am excited to be here.
Yay. So let's start with, when did you first go to Milton Hershey? What year did you enroll?
I enrolled in 1993, and I was a fifth grader that year.
Oh,
and
okay.
Fifth grade was still part of the middle school at that time.
Oh, wow. Wow. Fifth grade was still part of middle school.
One of the last years that it was there.
Wow. And how old were you in fifth grade?
I was 10.
So you were 10. Okay. I got there when I was 10 too, in 96.
It's a good time though.
It is. It's a good time. Like right there in our still early years. Not yet teenage years. Almost the tween.
Almost.
Yeah. So when you graduated, what college did you go to?
I stayed close. I went to Lebanon Valley College right in Annville, so about 20 minutes away from the school.
Got it. What'd you study there?
I studied, well, it is a sordid tale. I started off biology and pre-vet medicine. And within the first 3 weeks, I switched to education and teaching.
How funny. What made you do the switch?
I didn't like biology.
It is a tough one.
It's way different in college than it was previous to that.
Yeah. I remember taking it in high school in MHS, and it seemed pretty fun, interesting. But for sure in college, I can only imagine the workload.
Well, and my school had said we made it the hardest to weed people out who doesn't need to be in the major.
Yeah.
And
wow.
I qualified for that.
Early, 3 weeks in.
I still had to continue to take biology the rest of the semester.
Yeah.
But I knew that was not the path I was on.
Wow. So education was your next thing. And then what happened? Did you fall in love with education?
Yes and no. I think it was one of those decisions of, what do I do? I like kids and I'm creative. What can I do with that?
Yeah.
And I think just being a person who loves to learn and is always trying to pick up new information and pass that information along to whoever needs it, that kind of lend itself to being in education. But I don't know that education for me is ever going to be just teaching kids in a classroom.
Right. Which I saw in your bio that you are getting into doing classes and consulting for your business, the Treat Yourself Soap and Candles. So tell me a little bit more about that, because that was so very interesting, the classes and the courses that you wanted to start doing.
Sure. So I started actually during the beginning of quarantine. I didn't realize it, but for the past 2 years, I had been watching items on YouTube for my own joy and relaxation of other people create soap and candle products. And I was like, I think I can do this. I think I know enough to get started. And I fell in love with it. As soon as I started. And those around me were like, ooh, I want some of that. How do I get some? And I was like, ooh, I accidentally created a business. I like this. I want to learn more.
Yeah.
And it kind of took off from there, and just my own love of learning things and wanting to share that with others developed into Treat Yourself Soap and Candle Company, which I then, became a LLC. And the side part of that, those soap and candle products, is LauraWhitmire.com, which is more the professional side where you don't necessarily get the product, but you can do, I offer classes on how to make any of my products. You can team up with 4 or 5 friends. I'll send you products. We can do in-person classes when it's no longer not advisable. Or I could do Zoom classes. I've done Zoom classes with body butters and like wax melting tarts. And I also am going to be offering a side of info products and cooking type things. So we're
Wow.
going to be expanding.
That is awesome. I love that you accidentally created a business. How cool is that? That's honestly some of the best ways because it speaks to your passion about
Mm-hmm.
it. Your creativity and love for it just kind of guided you like, hey, why not? That's really cool. Yeah. So you said you started that 2 years ago?
I started the actual business a year ago now, but the learning part of it, I didn't realize I was learning when I was actually learning. And when I took a moment to step back and reflect, I was like, oh yeah, I did that.
Yeah.
I do know a lot. I do have some strategy there.
Yeah, how funny. You do. What I do remember from my terrible memory is that you were always a smart person. I do remember that you were just always, you came off smart, you spoke very smart, your vocabulary was very smart. And I think I just remember you just being a good overall high GPA student. Even
Well,
though we
thank you
were
for
in the
that.
same classes.
I think I just have that kind of positive outlook, and I'm going to try to show you I know what it is, even if
Yeah.
I don't, and kind of present that air of confidence
Yes.
until, make it till I make it type thing.
That's a very good thing. That's a very good thing. And your love for education comes off in a lot of your videos, which is so
Oh,
cool.
good.
By the way, your videos, most of them make me hungry because I want to eat the stuff you make. It looks so delicious. I'm like, if this was edible, I would absolutely eat it. But yeah, you could tell you love what you do and you love kind of showing it off to people in your videos. Cause each and every video, I'm like, that's cool. Oh. But what's funny is I never would have thought, oh, I can learn how to do this, or, through a Zoom or something like that. For me in my head, I would just say, oh, let me buy one of her products. But it's so cool, and it speaks to how quickly you learn and how quickly you grow, that you would then create from just selling the products, creating them yourself and selling them, that you would then create a whole nother service on top where you will teach other people to do them. And how fun is that? Like, who doesn't want to make fun, delicious looking soap and
Well,
cat?
and I guess this is a sneak peek. The new space is going to be called the maker space, so it can kind of combine making all of the things.
Oh,
So
that's
both,
cool.
as a multi passionate person, I can't just limit it to one. So it's just going to
Yes.
be an entire maker space.
Oh, that's so cool. And such a good timing, especially with being able to do Zooms and making it fun, whether it's one-on-one or a group activity where we could just be on the computer together and doing it. It's perfect timing that, the pandemic would happen now and everyone is kind of doing these virtual events, which is so cool to watch and listen to all these different people, pivoting in their business to be able to get online and still be social in that way.
Well, and I think offering a way that you can still have a new experience
Yeah.
within the safety of your home and your own pod of people that
Yes.
you feel most comfortable being around,
Yeah.
that's just one of the best ways.
Yeah. And self-care, I think in this whole era right now that we're in, like this generation is learning how important self-care really truly is. Even if it's lighting a candle right there next to you, just the glow and the smell of a candle itself can relax you.
And part of what I do is create these artisan soaps and the candles. But with the artisan soaps, it started with me treating myself to another maker's product, and just for hand washing. I wasn't like a body like soap bar person. And I was like, I just want something fun and fruity and frivolous seeming for me.
Yeah.
So to make that mundane task of washing my hands the 8,000 times a day we have to do it,
Yes.
make that, make it a fun choice. Hey, do I want a lemon? Do I want grapefruit extravaganza? What do I want to just, make that mundane task a little bit more fun for myself? And
so true.
That just snowballed into let me do this and be able to give this experience to other people too.
That's so awesome. So, do you think you ever thought you would have been an entrepreneur? Like, did you ever want to be an entrepreneur, or was it truly just like an accident? You had never even thought about it before, and it just kind of, you just rolled right into it.
I think the notion was there before. Uh Initially, when I had gone through and finished college, my goal was to create my own daycare. So the kind of the business aspiration and being the owner was there, and it has grown into, I think the ultimate goal right now would be having a coffee shop cafe slash like classroom space in
Wow.
public for that. So that's kind of my end goal, if you will.
Yeah. Who doesn't want coffee and self-care? I mean,
Coffee, candles,
combination.
have have a nice space while you're at it. Take
Yes.
something home to remind you of that awesome day that you had.
That sounds amazing. You let me know as soon as you open that so I can be there.
I will.
Oh my goodness.
Definitely will.
So, give me the overall mission, concept, and the vision for your current business.
So my current business, it is having people take a moment to just focus on themselves, because we can't be all the things that we are to other people. We can't be giving them our best self if we're not taking care of taking care of it steadily all the time. And it doesn't have to be, oh, it's self-care Sunday. It can be little things every day that just add up to an overall feeling of well-being.
Yeah.
And then making time for yourself. So kind of putting self not first, but definitely not last. Because I think, especially as women, because most of my business caters to women, we tend to put everybody before ourselves. And if you're a mother, a business owner, all of those things, we we don't prioritize always best.
Absolutely. We are like number 700,091 of all the things. I mean, the dog definitely gets it before us. Whatever self-care is needed, the dog will get it first. The cat, the kids, the husband, the friends, the mom, the sisters. Yeah, the trash can, all
until we're depleted.
Yeah.
So realizing that, unless we are in the optimal mental health space, because we're taking care of what needs to be taken care of for ourselves, we're not doing the best that we can.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So with that being said, what type of self-care and self-development do you do for yourself, and how often?
I have trouble starting new habits.
Okay.
So my current habit as a avid flip-flop wearer is a nightly foot treatment for myself.
Very nice.
And it's one of those things that, oh, I'm just tired, I want to go to bed. But creating that steady, I'm going to do it every night until it becomes automatic. That is my new goal. And honestly, I have a thick creamy lotion for that in my lineup. and that's what I'm using. And it's once again, I'm using the what didn't fit for product for everybody else, myself.
Yeah.
But it's a vanilla buttercream flavor. It's really awesome. So I do that. I also, on the weekends, as we balance all the children in our home, I have that kind of Saturday hour to myself.
Yeah.
Where I just, relax, do what I need to do, take that long, luxurious shower.
Yeah.
Listen to some music or a podcast. Just
Yeah.
take that time for myself, maybe even drive to Starbucks, and
Yeah.
I'm alone in the car for it. So that's kind of how I prioritize myself on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
But I also try to sneak in some learning and business education whenever I can.
Which is also so good. Um, because a lot of times we get so busy, doing the day to day, making sure everything is done. Um, and then we get so tired, and then we realize that we haven't done anything to like grow ourselves or learn, something new or advance ourselves in some way because we're just so busy doing the day to day and making sure that the normal tasks need to get
Right.
done. But the podcast, you said, listening to a podcast, that is, I don't know what type of podcast do you listen to?
I have a variety of them. There's a couple local ones. Of course, I listen to the Milt Talk podcast, but there's Coffee Beans and Booze, who are some of my local friends over in Palmyra that talk about their small town community and life.
Uh,
Of course, the Nicole Walters podcast. She's awesome and amazing.
yes, yeah,
Um, I have some of my other business associates. They have some podcasts as well. I Just Want to Talk is one of them. That's great. My friend Lakendra does that one,
nice,
and also audiobooks.
yeah.
So Audible is awesome. The library even has free audiobooks that I can wait and check out.
Oh,
And it's just nice to pop in my earbuds and
yeah.
cook dinner while still like listening to the kids from the other ear, but know that I'm multitasking like the best of them.
Yes. Oh, yes. Don't we know multitasking? Oh my goodness. So,
That should be its own like certification.
yes, absolutely. Because it's not easy. It is absolutely not easy. And we can honestly, we've been blessed, I think, as women and moms to be able to do it with our eyes closed, but it is absolutely not easy whatsoever. And for sure, a huge, great characteristic for any entrepreneur is to be able to multitask. And a
Hmm.
teacher. Oh, goodness. And a teacher, especially teaching kids.
Yes, you have to be all the things at once.
Yes. So, what do you think has been your challenge, your biggest challenge so far?
My biggest challenge so far is finding finding a way to meld all the passions together in a way that makes sense and is cohesive and leaves all the area and room to grow as well.
Yes. Yeah. A lot of people talk about the balance of things. And a lot of times, I think the easiest way to go about it is to realize that there's really no such thing as balance. It's just about, prioritizing and like you said, letting everything kind of mesh and mend together. Because if you
One of
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
One of the strategies I've heard is, as a person, we're juggling all of these balls, and some of them are rubber and some of them are glass. And you're going to drop some of the balls. You can't hold them all.
Yeah.
But we're making sure that the ones we're dropping are not the glass ones. They're
Yeah.
the ones that if it goes by the wayside, it's not going to, break our child's heart,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
it's not going to cause big stress in business. So it's just kind of being strategic about which one to let go at the moment of.
Yeah, I love that. That's such a great way to look at it too, because a lot of times we stress ourselves over, oh my God, I didn't get this done, or oh my goodness, blah, blah, blah. But when you really think about it, maybe that was the rubber one. That was okay to kind of, bounce out and it didn't break. So I think I'm gonna reuse that, Laura, if that's okay. I'm totally gonna reuse that.
I've heard it from a couple people myself,
Yeah.
so it's what makes the most sense to me, and gives me that peace of mind that we're not perfect as much as we try to be or want to be. We're not, and
Yeah.
it's just finding the priority in the moment
Yeah.
of what deserves the most focus.
Yes, absolutely. How do you think, going back to the pandemic, and I know you said you started the business a year ago, which was like right before the pandemic.
Mhm.
How do you think the pandemic has impacted your business and also you as an entrepreneur?
I think it has stretched me in digital ways of website creation and learning how to code. And it's kind of thrown a lot of things at once.
Yeah.
And where most businesses had to pivot,
Yeah.
I was pivoting while putting new stuff in the lineup.
Yeah.
And I think one of the most important lessons I've learned as an entrepreneur is it's never going to be done. It's it's what is the next step to accomplish on the road to the next goal, if
Yes.
you will.
Yes.
The next goal. I
Yeah.
have a list next to me of it's on post-it notes. It's not even official vision board. It's a list of post-it notes stuck together of when I grow, what are the next things I want.
Yeah.
And it kind of sticks there even in my teaching space during the day. So it's always
Yeah.
something that it's in the back of my mind and never far away.
Wow, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And it's true, once we reach one goal, we're already setting a new one. So it's a constant work in progress always, is what I always like to say, that you'll always reach results, but then of course you want to continue growing as we should. You're always setting new goals. So it's definitely a work in progress. Yeah, I like that. Yes, my baby. Okay, baby, go ahead. I'll be right up. And well, there we go, multitasking at its best.
Well,
So
and I think that was one of the things too that really drove my want to create that legacy for not only myself, but for my family too. Having our youngest son 2.5 years ago,
yeah,
that was not a change in life that I think I could have anticipated.
yeah,
And driving the hour I was away every day to work and
yeah,
having to come back and losing those hours as part of his life
yes,
when things are seeming to change at a very fast pace every day.
yeah,
That was one of the catalysts to I need to make a change for my family.
yes,
And that realization when I was out for my maternity leave of the school, their business is going to go on without me. So
yes,
I need to prioritize what's important for me and my family and do what's best for that and build what is best for that.
yes, yes. I felt that in my heart. I absolutely felt that. And that is probably my number one favorite thing about entrepreneurship is the time and flexibility that I have to be able to raise my daughter 100% 24/7, take her to every doctor appointment she's ever had, pretty much it's set my own schedule no matter what. And that doesn't, go without saying that I still work 24/7 because it's again our own business. But that flexibility, especially with motherhood, is just it really is priceless. And with
It's a
that,
blessing, huge,
it's
huge blessing.
such a blessing. And with that being said, that actually speaks to one of my questions. How do you think being a business owner has affected your home life and family life as opposed to being an employee?
I think it gives it more purpose and more meaning.
Yeah.
My husband is also he is in the caregiving field. He cares for adults with special needs, and he is a musician and songwriter in his free time. So
Yeah.
we both have that creative passion for our own endeavors, and we've realized that moving away from working for other people and working towards our own goals and missions is where we want to be as a family
Yes.
and as a couple. So the entrepreneurship and kind of figuring that out together has been the best.
That is awesome. Yes, I love that. Yeah, my husband and I, when we met, I was already a business owner. My brother and I were in business together. We owned a distributorship company. So when I met Chris, he was working in restaurants. He was a restaurant manager, and he had, that was his whole career path. He had studied culinary art and restaurant management. So he knew that's what he wanted to do at that time. And then a few years into, us getting married and everything, I was still a business owner. And Chris started to see the value in, becoming an entrepreneur also. And also how much he wasn't being valued, as a restaurant manager and climbing up that ladder, so he then got into entrepreneurship with me, and then we switched gears and got into a whole different industry. But now that we've been in entrepreneurship together, we're going on 7 years together in entrepreneurship. And then I had 7 years with my brother. So I actually was I was an entrepreneur since '08. Yeah. And then Chris joined me in 2014. So, and since then, once we got a taste of it, it's just almost impossible to let it go.
Well, and listening to you talk reminds me that we can either choose to build somebody else's dream or put that work into building our own instead.
Exactly. I always tell people the same thing. It's great to have a wonderful career, and I never, put that down at all. But in the end, you're still, working towards building someone else's overall legacy. Whereas it's not something you can't really pass down a career or a job to, your children, whereas you can pass down a business to them if you wanted to.
Right. And it gives them options that they wouldn't maybe have otherwise.
Yes. Do you think, you have a big family, do you think your husband and yourself do you guys encourage, you think, more entrepreneurial approach with them, or do you encourage the going to college and, looking for a job?
What we're encouraging now is just growth mindset overall. Yeah. Like, how can you learn best and be your best self?
Yeah.
And get the most out of each experience. Yeah. So we don't push college. If you can make a successful career as a YouTuber, go ahead.
Yeah.
But also, you're never going to stop learning. You're never going to stop growing. And I think one of the huge moments for us happened, was it last summer, when one of the girl goes, "Oh, that's just my imposter syndrome talking." And I was like, she's listening. Wow. She's learning, like, just from how we're talking with each other.
Yeah.
And she was, I think she was making, what was she making? I can't even think about it. She was making a character in one of her little online worlds that she watches the video, and she wanted to create one for herself. And she's like, "I don't think it's as good. It's not like anybody else's that I watch." And she's like, "Oh, that's just my imposter syndrome talking." I was like, yes.
Oh,
like, it's sinking in. It's it's getting in there.
Yes, more than we ever know. Sometimes my daughter will say something and I'm like, wow, how did you actually, their memory is like phenomenal. Even at almost 4 years old, she'll remember something when she was like 2.5 so clearly. The other day, my friend Trishonda came over, another Milt, and I
love watching you cook together.
Oh, I love Trishonda. I'm getting ready to post videos that we just made. We made ahi steaks and scallops. Oh my God. And gazpacho. Oh my gosh. So wait a
second. Sounds delightful.
It was absolutely delightful. It was amazing. I've never really seen a cook as good as her, and how well she knows you could just tell it comes out of her pores. It's amazing. Even if something came, like if we were doing something and it wasn't coming out so right, she'll just do a little taste and then she'll know, this, and she'll potion it up, and then boom, it's amazing again. And I'm like, well, how did you do that? So she actually teaches me a lot. I love to cook, and I grew up cooking, but I'm more than happy to be her sous chef. I always tell her that you could come into my kitchen and chef it up anytime you want, and I'll just clean up around you and be your taste tester.
I've been doing HelloFresh, and although as somebody who likes to make up my own recipes and throw my own stuff together, it's been one of those finding, not dropping any of the balls, but I love grocery shopping, but it's not something I have the time for right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I also don't want to be ordering out all the time.
Yes.
That was our variety and our options were not the best. So HelloFresh has been great for us. It's, we get to select whatever meals we want for the week. And
Yeah.
as somebody who does have cooking and a cooking background, I can add and take away and send the
Yeah.
husband to the store for 2 zucchinis on his way home because I know what they're sending is not our personal preference.
Right.
And I can jazz it up with spices as I need to.
Now, I've heard a lot about HelloFresh, and we were also considering going with HelloFresh too. But then Chris had just started this new journey of like juicing for 30 days.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he is on that journey now, in the midst of that juicing journey. But yeah, I've always teetered back and forth. Should I do HelloFresh? Should I do HelloFresh? But I think I'm gonna try it out. I think I'm gonna see how we like it for like a month. And
And you can do like 2 servings, 4 servings. You
okay,
can, since you know what it is ahead of time, you can supplement with it, plan your week out.
yeah,
I have started freezing my meats as soon as they come in,
okay,
so that if I don't quite get to that meal within the right time span, that hasn't gone to waste. Because
yeah,
even in my business and personal life, one of my key things has been, let's not create more waste.
right,
Like, use what we need, be resourceful if we can.
yes,
And it just kind of translates to everything I do.
yes. I love that. I always said, I like resourcefulness. It's so funny. I probably say that like once a week actually, and it's so funny you say that. Yeah, I love resourcefulness. I want to own a ranch one day just so I can live off of the land as much as I can and be resourceful, not wasteful. We waste so much these
We
days. I
do.
mean, it's crazy to see the waste in so many different areas where it's food, you know, nature, um, things, products that we have around the house. I mean, just material, so wasteful. And I love, now that we live in Lancaster, I see a lot of, the Mennonites and the Amish people all around. And I really value how resourceful they really are. I mean, there's so much to
They're
be
self-sustaining within their own community. It's amazing.
amazing, amazing. So much to be learned from them. Um, I find myself constantly like, if I could just live there for 3 months, and pick
You
up
know,
everything that they do.
back before I was married and had children, I kind of just hoped a nice Amish family would adopt me. And I would contribute with workload and family, and they can just feed me. That
Yeah,
would be
that's
great.
it. Just teach
I
me
can
how to
show them spices and flavor,
Yeah.
and we can eat all the natural stuff.
Yes, yes. I love that. That is so funny. So, another question for you. What are 2 pieces of advice you'd give to someone starting their entrepreneurial journey?
I would say find a coach or mentor, somebody who has been through it and can kind of point out a couple things that not to do,
Yes.
as far as make sure you're staying legal with all of your activities. Make sure you are not starting out in a deficit, if you will, financially.
Yes.
And the other part I would have is don't limit yourself to what you're able to do.
Yeah.
Just dream all the dreams and then figure out how it's possible to make them happen.
Oh, that's awesome. Such good advice. Love that. Wow. I'm taking notes here as you're saying it. It's so good. Yeah. Very, very good. How do you think your upbringing at MHS impacted you as a working adult and now wife and mom?
I think my story of going to Milton Hershey is a little different than some of my peers.
Yeah.
I chose to go.
Okay.
It was I still am. I'm an only child, and we lived in rural southern New York, and I went to school and I was home with my mom and my grandma.
Yeah.
So my socialization was not very big or very wide.
Yeah.
And I wanted those opportunities. I wanted to get out of our town. I wanted to see more of the world. And I knew that what I saw in videos and what I saw on my first kind of tour of the campus was like, I see myself there. I see myself growing.
Yeah.
So it was,
Wow.
I was very lucky that I could do that at 10
Yes.
and be able to kind of think about, yes, I miss my family. Yes, I miss being at that place I called home.
Yeah.
But I knew that it was for the best and it was going to stretch me, if
Yeah.
you will, and give me opportunities I wouldn't have. So
Wow.
I would say knowing that mindset going in of I can do the hard things, it's going to make me better.
Yeah.
I'm going to get past whatever difficult moment there is,
Yeah.
has been hugely helpful in entrepreneurship.
Yes.
And that mindset of the resources are there, I just need to reach out and find them
Yeah.
and figure out how to make it work.
Yeah.
Making it work is all is all we do every day is
That's it. Yeah. Because if you don't make it work, then you just find an excuse not to. There's always a way. Always. And it's
always.
phenomenal that you knew that you were that um aware um of your growth at 10 years old. That is awesome. Not a lot of 10-year-olds would be able to think to themselves, oh, this would be a good opportunity for me in any way, unless it was like something fun, but to the
Yeah.
level of, your awareness and your, hunger for growth in so many ways at that age that's phenomenal. Do you think you got that from your mom or your grandma?
I think I definitely got it from my family, like that strong base of being allowed to be confident in who I was and the things that I wanted to do. And always that support behind whatever you want to do, we're behind you. So
Wow.
I think that fostered that confidence. And I think back to, even in my later teen years, if we were home on summer break, I didn't really have a curfew.
Yeah.
It was just be safe, be smart, let me know when you get home.
Yeah.
And it was knowing I had that trust that
Yeah.
I was going to make those best choices
Yeah.
was huge.
Yeah.
And as a parent now, that I just admire my mom for allowing me
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
go and pursue that and essentially giving that time that she could have had with me to
Yes.
allow me that growth and
Yeah.
those opportunities.
Absolutely. That is so awesome. Wow, that's great. And I love that you know, as a teenager, you were given that trust to be able to make your decisions, know right from wrong, and have that space, to be able to do that. And I always have said that with my daughter Zamina, when she becomes a teenager, and they will say teenagers are this and blah blah blah, but I've always said, I don't want to look at it like, oh, those are going to be our worst years. I want to more like look at it like those are the years she's finding herself and she's exploring. And that's when I feel we need to give them the trust the most. Because I do feel when, like you said, when you feel that you are trusted, you want to make the best decisions.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
And you want to not disappoint other people. But I do think that there's a fine line between being true to yourself
Yeah.
and what feels right to you,
Yeah.
and knowing that it might not always please other people.
Right. Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's speaks to, learning that we're not people pleasers. We're here to be happy for ourselves and please our own selves. And also that helps set boundaries too.
Mhm.
So people aren't taking advantage of you. You're not constantly feeling like you have to, step out of your own self to, please someone else. It's so important. And I think a lot of that comes down to our sense of self-worth, um, to know that we don't have to, constantly worry about pleasing everyone else if it doesn't please us first.
Mhm. And I think a lot of what I see raising, I say that I'm raising an accidentally Montessori child.
Yeah.
Because I, I think we let him have, even at 2.5, he stays within the same home space a lot of the time, given the
Yeah.
pandemic.
Yeah.
And so he climbs up on the chair to look out the window, or he carries his little stool with him everywhere that he wants to go and
Yeah.
explore. And so we've just tried to make the most safe environment for him to explore. And he feels free to just explore his space in any way that he wants. And I see it come across in his play. And I hope that as he grows, it keeps building on
Yeah.
that I'm confident in, I'm going to be taken care of
Yeah.
and what's going to happen. And I can just grow and be curious and discover all the things around me.
Yes. Yes. Because that's what it really is all about, is just fearlessness and confidence to be able to go, just go. Limit, not limiting yourself. Like you said earlier with entrepreneurship, not limiting yourself in general in life. A lot of times we limit ourselves with our fears, not believing in ourselves or believing in something we want to pursue. But all that just speaks to a limiting mindset. So it's awesome that you're teaching him that so young, to not limit himself and be confident. 'Cause again, you learned that from your mom, so you're just passing it down.
Which is part of that legacy we're wanting to build.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So what advice do you think you would give your younger self?
Oh, my younger self. um, I would have given myself the advice of, you probably don't have to go to college right away. That's what advice I would have given myself. Um, I think I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to save up and travel Europe for some time.
Yeah,
And I think I would have liked to continue doing that,
yeah,
to, save up for the next thing, get those experiences, and kind of grow and broaden my thoughts and my passions. And I might have come to this entrepreneurial state sooner.
yes. Yeah, that's awesome. And I think a lot of that speaks to how we were all kind of conditioned and programmed to, go to college, get a job, go to college, get a job. So college was just so, so, so important. And not going to college was like not so good. But I'm hoping that it'll be a little bit different now, especially with, colleges changing, and the world changing. I do see in these younger generations that they are a lot more expressive and creative, and they're more resourceful as far as technology. So I see a lot more younger and younger and younger entrepreneurs, which is so
Mhm.
cool.
Really awesome.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And I hope it continues, on that path, because then you just get so much more interesting things in the world, all these people with interesting products, services, businesses, all that stuff kind of excites me.
Uh, for me, one of the best things that, like, I can do for my children immediately would be to kind of foster any type of creative, and it doesn't have to be creating something,
Yeah.
but the creative thought train that says, okay, I want this, or I there's something that doesn't suit this purpose for me. I'd like to figure out how to make that happen.
Yeah.
That's definitely a priority that I would like. And self-expression, our 13-year-old currently likes to draw dark black stars on her face.
How funny.
And that's not my upbringing,
Yeah.
but she's confident with it, she's comfortable with it, and that's how she's choosing to express herself right now. So
Yeah.
I'm all for it.
Yeah.
And it's helping the others in our lives around us be okay that she's just expressing who she is. That
Yes.
and that's all we all should be doing anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I love that you guys are able to see that, and if it's not hurting her or someone else, then there should be nothing wrong with it. A lot of times I think, not allowing kids to express themselves, that's what I think also starts to create a limiting mindset, or, oh, I can't be myself
Like,
because
you have to fit into this mold that I've predetermined for you.
absolutely. Yeah.
And when we kind of take those parameters off and allow them to kind of explore different avenues,
Yeah.
do I think she's going to be doing this trend forever? Probably not.
Exactly. Right.
But if it's made this last year easier or
Yeah,
better for her to handle, go for it. Go
absolutely.
for it.
Yeah,
We're all doing the best we can these days.
exactly. Exactly. That's right. I know that's right. So, second to last question, what's your overall vision for your legacy and your future generations?
I would say I would like to build something successful enough that my children have the choice, whether they want to participate in it
Yeah.
or they want to just take from it what they want.
Yeah.
But I would like to give them that option.
Awesome. Yeah, because they may want to participate. They may want to start something all brand new on their own. Yeah.
And then we can join forces. That'd
Yeah.
be great.
I love that.
Let's put it under the family umbrella, the Whitmire
Yeah,
umbrella.
that's right. That's great. And then last question, what does being a Milt mean to you?
It means having a bond with several thousand other people.
Yeah.
That it's an unspoken shared knowing. It's a love that you can't find in quite that way anywhere else.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's so funny because it's so much of what almost everyone says. It's the bond, it's the family, it's like no other, and all of it is so true. I mean, even when Milts have never even met, and as soon as they know that each other are Milts, it's like an instant connection.
It's that, and I've tried to put it into words before, but it's like knowing that deep part of someone's self without speaking it.
Yeah.
And just having that understanding that they're like you and you're like them, regardless of what experiences you've had. You have that connection.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. So before we go, I'd love for you to, again, give a quick shout out of your company, whatever you have going on, what you want people to know, any social media handles, anything you want people to know. I'm going to put it in the description also, but go ahead and call it out.
I try to be consistent across the board. My website, laurawhitmire.com, is also my personal Facebook and Instagram, Laura Whitmire. And my brand for products and those services is Treat Yourself Soap and Candle Co. and treatyourselfscc.com. And all of those, if you go to the Instagrams, they're there, they're linked to each other. Easy to find. If you find one of me, you find all of me.
Perfect. And as it should be. Exactly. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Laura. I loved this interview. I learned so much from you, and I can't wait to continue to watch your videos. And I'm definitely going to go on there and choose. I think I'm going to go with that vanilla butter foot cream that you mentioned earlier. And, something for my hands, because I am constantly landscaping, cleaning, gardening, all of that. And I neglect my poor little hands.
It's great for nighttime wear, just to put on and sleep.
Do you put gloves?
I don't, and I can't sleep with socks on. That's my own thing.
Yeah, my husband says the same thing.
No foot prisons for me.
Yeah, foot presents. That's great.
But it's nice to have at night and have that in that formula. And anybody who's local, I am in the Lancaster area. I offer local pickup. So if you want to,
awesome.
if you want to have a milk connection, all of the local pickup information check out on my website.
Oh, that's so awesome. Very cool. And you and I'd love to get together with you and have some
You're just down the road.
Do some cooking. Yes, you're right down the road. So we definitely have to plan that. So
for sure.
Yeah. Thanks again. And I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye. Thanks for having me.
Bye. Absolutely.